Welcome in, guys. Have man, that music like overlaid there for a minute. I don't know what was going on. Oh my god, I hear an echo. You all hear this?
No.
No, we're golden, buddy boy.
I hear Dane's, or I'm not Dane, DOB's TV.
Definitely don't. It's
Oh
on
my
me.
god. All right, I think we're good. So here for the week 2 college football, we've got good week last week. I'm gonna have to drop out and come back in here in a second because all I hear is an echo.
Just start this thing over.
We've got week 2 college football breakdown for Saturday. We're doing it a night early. Schedules worked out to where this will be better for this week. Probably be back to Friday going forward, but here a day early. I got a little bit more time if you watch it on replay too. Got the Thursday night football game going on right now in the NFL. I think there's a showdown tomorrow night too. So a ton going on this week with every league of football back. So any initial thoughts on the slate? And I'm going to drop out and get back in.
I have one. I can't believe we're going to play Pitt players this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to
as cheap as they are,
have somewhat interest in that whole game on both sides. Just looking at the numbers with Pitt and Cincy, DK did not adjust the pricing for Pitt. The value's there, then it allows you to get your main stack of, either Arkansas or Oklahoma State. That total's enticing. Georgia Tech, Syracuse. Dealing with Kyle McCord and his pass, kind of a soft spot there for me. Those are the games that kind of stand out a little bit, but we'll dig a little bit deeper in there. But yeah, last week we definitely touched on some spots and made a little bit of cash, what we're all about here, and hopefully some people followed along there. But
yeah, it was a great week 1. I would say early in the year is probably the toughest for me, and we really found the spots last week. We were all over Pittsburgh, who ownership-wise ended up coming in pretty low, really, which was crazy, I thought.
Yeah. Yes.
They were right around 10, and some people were under 10%.
With all the
Reed and Holstein just smashed their price tag. Mumpfield wasn't great, but he was all right. I mean, he got there for you.
I mean, with all the optos and info and fancy shit out there, it was interesting to see them be that off the radar. So I think it'll be a little different this week, but
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
let's
I
dive
agree.
in.
Yeah, so we're going to do the same thing, go game by game. This is, I'll be honest, I was telling you guys before we came on, this is a little bit more of a first look than it would be on a Friday night because for me, because Friday is usually the day that I go through these things, the games pretty in depth. So I haven't got a chance to do that yet. There is a couple things that I've added to the sheet for the year that we did not have last year. So I want to show that really quick. It goes with player targets by team per week. So you can easily see who's trending, if there's a certain guy that's getting more as the season goes on, and see how many they got the previous few weeks and see where they're trending. Same thing with rush attempts. For all the slates, this will be up, sorted by team and then by slate. So like you can see here for Georgia Tech, they've had a couple games. So Jamal Haynes had 11 carries and then 17, and then Haynes King, quarterback, ran for 15 attempts and then 5. Same thing with the targets there. You can see Rutherford's had 7 both games. A little inconsistency with the rest of the receiving core. So let's go ahead and hop in. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. So the first game up is Kansas State and Tulane. 47.5 total. Kansas State is a 9-point favorite. Avery Johnson is a quarterback that I think we're going to have to have interest in here. He can run the ball. Solid projection at 7,500. I think you can get to him. Jace Brown, the receiver, I think he's too cheap at 4,800. He's a good play. And Giddens as well. I think all three of those guys are very in play. Giddens is probably one of the top running back options on the entire slate. I don't know how I feel yet about playing those two guys together, Johnson and Giddens. It's almost kind of feels similar to the Tootin Drones pairing last week, where Giddens the running back and then Johnson who can run. Do they take a little away from each other? I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on this game initially?
I personally think the only interest I have would be Giddens. I don't see Kansas State having to be playing from behind, so I think they're going to feed Giddens more. I know it's early in the season. Tulane historically been kind of competitive, but I don't see them being in this game at all personally. So just Giddens for me. I'm going to cross off, Avery, Jace for the value, 4,800. If you think you can get there off a, 3/4, cool, but no, there's other better spots for me.
I actually agree. If you happen to land on Jace Brown, that's not the worst thing, but you can land on other people 4,800, I'm sure, that are better.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. They rate out, I think, so right now they're rating out 6th in the double stack tool that we have there. Definitely am not looking to double stack them because Johnson is a runner anyway, so you're not playing him to throw it for 400 or 500 yards. To the Tulane side, we've not really touched on plays, but Mekhi Hughes would be the only guy. And I'm probably Xing them out. So it's really those three guys in that game for me. Anything else?
Next.
Yep.
Big game here. We've got a 63 total. Oklahoma State's a 7.5-point favorite at home against Arkansas. We'll start with Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon, best DFS running back in the country, has to be. 90. We seen it last week. I mean, he's getting nearly 30 carries. They're going to feed him. So if you can get to him, he's one of the better, probably the best running back play on the slate.
Oh, yeah.
The receivers are kind of, it's spread around between those three, and we seen that last week with Presley, Stribling, and Rashad Owens. Stribling is very cheap, so I think he would definitely be the top option in that receiving core for me. Alan Bowman is just way too high priced. And then on the other side with Arkansas, Taylor Green is a runner. I think he's a very good run back option. You can game stack this one up. The rest of that team, though, I don't think I'll have any interest in. Maybe a Luke Hayes pairing with Taylor Green, but you're kind of like I just said with Avery Johnson, you're not playing Taylor Green for passing. You're playing him for what he did last week when he ran for 88 and 2. So what's your guys' thoughts on these two?
Right there, Deshaun Stribling, 4,800, much better option than the previous one. So, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Ollie Gordon, kind of an almost must start and certain. Especially in cash, you would think. But yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said, Dan.
I'm gonna have a little different stance on this one. Ollie's obviously easy first one in and build around him and make him work. I don't know who these teams played week one right off, but I think Arkansas might be able to kind of contain him to an extent, and then make Oklahoma State getting a more passing style game, and then Talon will be more viable for his upside and rushing. And then if he does have to pass it, these wide receivers do come into play a little bit more. It's still uncertain. It's the beginning of the season, so I'll go against the script a little bit the first couple of weeks until you know where everyone's teams are. But I do have interest in both sides of these games, whether it's starting with Ollie and building around him, or getting a little different and going, on the Boomer Sooner side or the Sooner side, go Pokes, Bowman, Presley Stribling with a run back of, the Broden or Armstrong there would be my kind of takes on it.
Yeah, we didn't learn a whole lot about Arkansas last week. I mean, they won 70-0 against Arkansas Pine Bluff, but
exactly.
Oklahoma State did play the FCS national champion, if that means anything. But I mean, they were on the slate last week, so
that's right. And they kind of struggled. Yeah,
I mean, it was close for a while.
Yeah. So
I think that's really it here. I think you can definitely play Ollie and Stribling without full on stacking this game. I think the price tag on Stribling is very good. 8 targets a week ago.
Yeah, a little different take. I mean, obviously, first click you see Ollie, but there's some different ways to take it, and uncertainty is on both ends. So
now, if you were to pivot off of Ollie, a Stribling Owens double pairing with Bowman ranks out 4th in the top stack tool. So that would be the large field option. It's hard for me with Bowman with where he's priced. And I just don't think he has upside there. So, but
no, I definitely see it.
Makes sense. So that was a pretty important game. I'm glad we spent a lot of time on that. Texas and Michigan, probably one of the top just watching games of the weekend. But for DFS, I don't think I'm going to play anything here. I don't like going up against either one of these defenses, and Michigan's offense looked like they didn't know how to walk last week. So, which kind of makes sense. I mean, if Colston Loveland was like underpriced, you could go there, but he's 6,700. Donovan Edwards and Mullings are both way overpriced for their role. The quarterback, we don't even know who's going to run or throw for them. Well, we know who's going to throw and run, but they're not going to do the same. You know what I mean? On the other side, Ewers is 9K. That's just way too high, I think, against Michigan. Jaden Blue, 68. Wasn't very good last week. Did get 6 targets in the passing game. But I don't think you can really go to him here. I think this game might be a cross-off for me.
Same. Bond and Edwards would be the only ones I have interest in.
I agree. Michigan is like watching the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great defense, keep their opponents under 20 points, and they score 14-17. Nothing really fantasy-wise there.
Now, Josh, I think our squads play on Sunday in the NFL, so
hey, man.
I don't know.
Yes.
how good the defense is going to hold up this week. But
What? Who's your team?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is that who you like too, DOB?
Oh yeah.
Oh my! Oh, might have to have a little friendly 2-on-1 wager here on Sunday.
This next college game is where people don't understand us West Virginia fans. We can beat West Virginia on Saturday and hate Pitt University on Saturday and love the Steelers on Sunday. It's easy to do. It's
I was just thinking
level
about that
kids.
earlier. I was like, how can you do that?
It's easy. Honestly, it's super easy because it's completely different. I mean, yeah, the college kids get paid like pros now, but I mean, it's still different. It's college pros, completely different.
So the last touch on that game, Jaden Blue is the only guy getting any ownership, but I think I'll be off of him there. Yeah. Pitt Cincy, another big game for DFS wise. Here, 62.5. Both teams projected for over 30 with a close spread. Here, Cincy is a 2-point favorite. We were all over Pitt last week. We talked about that off the jump. They got a new offense in here where they're going to throw. Holstein threw it 40 times himself last week, and he didn't even play the whole game. Desmond Reed came in, I'm blanking on the other guy's name, but he was ruled ineligible for the entire year, who was supposed to be the split guy with Reed. And Reed came in here and had 14 for 145 and a touchdown, and then also had 3 targets in the pass game last week in a 55-24 win. They didn't price these guys up enough, I don't think. The receiving game is all 5K and under. Now, the counterpoint to that in the receiving game is that all those guys, the targets get spread around. You saw Mumfield had 8. Raphael Williams had 7. Kenny Johnson 7. Sincere Lee had 9. All those guys had production. The touchdowns went to Mumfield, Williams, and Johnson for the most part. But I think all those guys have some interest for me here at these price tags. And Holstein for sure. He was over 300 last week. He's not going to run, but he's one of the rare pocket passers that is not 9K or 8,500. So 65, I think you can get there with him. And then Reed is still a very solid play at 59. On the other side, you got Sorsby, who didn't have many yards last week. I haven't dug into that part, but he had 2 touchdowns running.
He had 383, I think. What it says.
Yeah, I meant running. Sorry.
Okay.
But you're right. He threw for 400 last week, and a big performance there for him. And I think we see this Pitt. They gave up 24 to Kent State, so the run and gun passing attack is, probably hurts the defense a little bit. And then you've got the backfield for them of Corey Kiner, who was the lead guy a week ago. Pryor might have earned a little more with his performance, 4 for 105 and 1. But I still think Kiner's the lead guy. And then Xavier Henderson, 11 targets last week, 7 for 101. He's a very good option. And then Joe Royer, who I don't even know who he is, coming into the show.
You're going to get to know all
targets. Yeah, I'm going to get to know Joe because he's 5 for 89 on 6 targets a week ago, and he's only 3,800 in one of the best games. Nice. So, like both of those options, like Sorsby, I think you could do. I've not played around with any builds yet, but I think you could definitely full up stack this game. I think it would fit together pretty nicely with a Holstein, Sorsby, Henderson, Royer, and then one of those receivers or the running back for Pitt, or even both if you wanted to get really crazy. And then Jam, I think you could probably play Ollie with that team. I could see that coming together.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I think DOB said this before we came on. I don't want to get too over excited about Pitt Cincy, but it's kind of hard not to like this spot.
Told you. once you start looking at it, I fully was like, tractor beam sucked me right in. Wanted to play a lot of pieces from this, and I said, hold up. Week 2, let's not get crazy with Pitt and Cincy yet. Let's see. But once you start looking at other games and what this could turn into, it's kind of hard not to have one side.
Well, it's the pricing again, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like what we talked last week, like the highest priced guy. I mean, outside of Sorsby, but the highest priced skill position players, Xavier Henderson at 65, like, and then all the Pitt receivers are under 5. They've got a Joe. We've got Joe at 38, and the ownership. I think it'll come up on this game and Pitt after last week some, but
you don't know
if what's looking, right now, it's just mainly going through Reed and Holstein in this game. Henderson and Royer are around 20%, and then everybody else is under 10 again. Mumfield, who I think he kind of had a down day for what his role is going to be and what he can do. I think he'll work his way into the 1 spot. I mean, 8 targets. He only caught 5 of those for 56 and 1. So I think Mumfield's a very good play again.
I like Reed again. I mean,
yeah,
since he doesn't rate very well.
Oh yeah,
rushing defense. So
no.
Just take
all those.
Take the
Pitt receivers are under 10% again. So if you're multi-entering, this would be like a perfect spot to get exposure to those. I know they spread it around, it looks like.
Play at least 1, no more than 3, and walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably go no more than 2, but yeah. Well, I mean, the price, makes sense.
Well, if you play
Johnson was the guy who – probably overachieved for last week. That's sometimes, what we talk about with, not overreacting to certain early weeks of the year. And Johnson caught all 7 of his targets, just barely crossed the 100 mark. So he got the bonus and he had a touchdown. So he pretty much maxed out what he could do. Whereas Mumfield, he had 3 targets that he didn't catch, and he was nowhere close to the 100. Raphael Williams, if you look at him, he only had 31 yards on his 7 targets, but he had 2 touchdowns. So, I think it could be any of those guys, but I would rank them as of right now: Mumfield, Williams, Johnson, probably exactly how they are. Actually,
I mean, they did play Towson.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Pitt played Kent State, right?
I thought was that.
Yeah,
Pitt?
and that's the thing. Like these two played.
Oh, yeah, they both played horrific teams and gave up over 20 points.
Another reason that a game stack.
Yeah, this game has to blow up. It has to.
In my opinion, you could go with Sorsby. You could get Royer and just hope he catches a touchdown or just repeats his performance from last week. Then you can get Ollie. And you got Pitt coming back the other way. You can get Ollie, and you can also get who did I have in mind here? What was that at?
You could play the 3 Pitt guys we played last week. My main team last week was Holstein, Reed, Mumfield. And then you could play Sorsby and one of those other guys, Royer or Xavier Henderson. I mean, Henderson had 11 targets. 35% of the pass attempts came to him last week. He was a transfer from Florida, right? So he's got to be the main guy in this offense.
Oh, for sure.
11 targets. The next closest guy was Joe Royer. And, you could play – you're paying up. You're paying more salary, but Royer could be a flash in the pan. I mean, we don't know when those targets came.
I don't know who Joe Royer is.
I can already see me clipping me saying that next week and posting it. And Joe Royer, and I'm going to put a stat line up: 0 3 targets, 0 for 0. I don't even know who Joy Royer is.
Or maybe he'll go 1 for 3, -2.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Next game. A pretty pathetic game outside of, I guess, Penn State, but they're always pathetic to play for DFS. So they're 35-point favorites against Bowling Green. Projected for 42. Bowling Green's a cross-off for sure. Can we play anybody for Penn State? They had a big 44% target share to Harrison Wallace last week.
That's Starch. He should.
But he
know.
also only threw it. Drew Aller only threw it 17 times, so I guess we can't really learn anything from that. We know Singleton and Allen are going to split. Katron Allen had a down game last week. Maybe he has the crush game this week. So anything we're doing here?
No.
Let's ask Starch what he's doing with Penn State.
I ain't doing nothing. Our defense was atrocious. Good God. And Penn State scored all those points on our defense. I mean, come on, it's Penn State. That's like saying Pittsburgh Steelers put up 50 freaking points on you. Come on, I mean, that's so sad. Anyway, I'm done.
I
Rant
mean,
is over.
The only ownership in this game is going to the Penn State backfield and maybe a few percent to Harrison Wallace, and that's pretty much it.
It's got to be, but not for my single entry.
Yeah, I'm not getting to that game.
No, not for my 1 or 2 entries. No way.
Georgia Tech, Syracuse, 61 total. Another solid option of a game here. 3-point favorites for Georgia Tech, who is riding the 2-game win streak to start the year. Haynes King is a runner, averaging about 50 a game on the ground through the first 2. Jamal Haynes is 6,900. He's kind of been the touchdown guy for them, averaging 15 touches per game. Then you've got Rutherford, who's definitely been the lead receiver through 2, with 30% target share through the first couple games. I think you can get to this team. King was a guy that he was on a lot of the night slates for whatever reason last year, and we loaded up on him quite a bit. Jamal Haynes, I think, is a very good option too. Starting on the Georgia Tech side, where is your guys' interest in Georgia Tech?
Definitely start with Haynes King. Like you said, Rutherford, Singleton.
And you can play Haynes King naked too.
That you can. He has that potential. If you think that Syracuse's stellar defense is gonna, put up a fight and stop the running game from Haynes, and you can go to the kind of cheaper, middle price Georgia Tech receivers there, but that's another one where you can get different. With going against the chalk or grain of Haynes, as he's priced up for a running back that they see, hey, they're going to hand the ball off. Just like I kind of like the other side better with, as you can see, the biggest jump on the running back to me is LaQuint Allen, who was our value play last week and came through. We're on that one. So another one to take notice of is Trevor Pena. I think he's the tight end. I was on him on the little mini afternoon slate. He came through nice. He's still underpriced to me. So that's kind of where I stand on this one. I definitely have some interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a little
Go
bit
ahead.
of interest, mostly in the running game, though. That's about it.
Yeah, it looks like both the running backs in this game are going to get quite a bit of ownership.
Yeah.
Jamal Haynes and LaQuint Allen. They got Allen up a little bit, but it's probably still not enough.
I could see if you're doing like two lines, like DOB said, playing Georgia Tech and getting different, because you know that ownership's going to be low.
Yeah. Most of the ownership here is going to Syracuse because LaQuinn Allen's getting a lot, and then Gadsden, I think he's the tight end. Who they did not. They didn't get him priced up. He was like 3,500 last week or something, which was dumb. But 10 targets a week ago. He's a stud. And
we're big on him.
He's only $5K.
Yeah, we're big on him because he was on your underdog best ball stuff, and Pena actually ended up being the better play. But with the 61-point total, it's kind of hard to ignore this game as well. So that's probably number 2 for me. 1, 2 would be
both those guys are Pena and Gadsden are very good plays. They're both getting some ownership. This is another thing though that I sometimes like to do, and I don't know that I can do it here because of the price tag, but the way that it looks is that people are playing all these skill position players for Syracuse: Allen, Gadsden, Pena. 1% ownership to Kyle McCord, who's got to get on the ball. But the tough part is he's 8,400 now. I will say he threw it almost 40 times last week.
He is a pocket passer that I just crossed off, and I will only play a skill position player because kind of knowing from the past, unfortunately. So
who did Syracuse play last week?
Gosh, I don't even remember. They were on the slate, and I don't even remember.
He had 354 yards and 4 passing touchdowns.
It wasn't somebody very good.
I mean, that's kind of what I figured, but still, it's worth
it was
Ohio.
8,400 is 8,400.
It was Ohio. Yeah, it was Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech's defense has been decent, but they also got to play DJU for Florida State to start the year. So
talk about
I don't know that means anything.
I was going to say, talk about an all-time hype letdown. Seriously, that's an epic. That he is just not good.
Yeah, he's brutal.
Yeah.
Right, so anything else on this one?
No.
Cal and Auburn. Auburn is a 13-point favorite, 53 total here. Peyton Thorne has never been a guy that I like to play, but he does run it a little bit. I think he's getting some ownership.
As you should. It's a high total on the slate.
20 to 25%, it looks like. Jaquez Hunter is a decent play there in the backfield at 65. And then you've got Lambert Smith, the transfer out of Penn State, who came over, had 4 of the 21 targets come his way last week and had 2 touchdowns in that game, 73-3. I don't know who they were playing, the community college next door or something. But
Malcolm Simmons down there at 3K with 5 targets and 91 yards.
91. That's
3 for 91 and 1. He's like the
speed guy,
big play guy. Yeah.
These
teams I struggle with because I don't know a whole lot about coming into the year, and both of these offenses outside of Jaden Ott I've really not played a whole lot of over the last few years. So this game in a lot of cases would have been a cross off, but Hunter's getting some ownership. Peyton Thorne's getting some ownership. I think they're both fine. Cam Coleman is also getting slightly on the most ownership of any of those receivers.
Corey Deitch is
45.
Corey Deitch he was at Maryland. I do remember playing him. I think Maryland or Cincy as wide receiver, tight end. He was not the worst play at 3,800. I've definitely played worse. So
Yeah, so I don't know who Cal played last week, but they didn't blow him out. And we're used to seeing Jaden Ott get massive workload, almost like an Ollie Gordon. But Cardwell and Javian Thomas both got 7 and 6 carries a week ago. They did like nothing with them though, so you got
Cal
to
played.
think they lean more on Ott. I mean, he is going to be 0 owned, but
Cal played the basketball school, UC Davis.
UC Davis. They have a football team. What? Okay. And they only won 31-13.
31-13, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
All the more reason why you lean on the Auburn side to me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
At home.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, unless it's alt field.
Peyton Thorne had 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. I don't care who Auburn played. Cal's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So Thorne, Coleman, Lambert Smith, Simmons, all those guys are in play. And then Jaquez Hunter, if you don't want to go to the passing game, you can go to him there too. That's all I've got on this one.
And Thorne is $600 cheaper than Kyle McCord from Syracuse too.
Yep. That's why you really can't play McCord.
Yep.
Cross him off.
Yeah. All right. South Carolina, who ran it 70% of the time a week ago in a 23-19 win over Old Dominion. Kentucky is a 9.5-point favorite, one of the lowest totals on the slate at 42.5. Probably not a ton that we're going to play here, but Brock Vandagriff, 7,100. I think he's actually okay. I don't know that he's going to have any ownership. I think I played him on the night slate. I think it was the night, had to have been last week. He had 35 rush yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns, but only 169 through the air. You could look at a Dane Key, Barron Brown, kind of the same faces that we know for them. But, again, they spread it around quite a bit. The backfield for them was Sumo, Carnabay. 8 carries last week, had a touchdown. But I just don't – this game's not going to be very looked at for me. I mean, Lenoris Sellers, the quarterback for South Carolina, is a pure runner. He's not going to do anything for you through the air. And it's pretty much a whole revamped South Carolina team who I don't know anything about their receivers. They did give it to Raheem Rocket Sanders 24 times last week. So he's going to be a volume guy, but not a very easy matchup as almost 10-point dogs. Anything here?
I would say this. I think I sent you or the group a Instagram thing, a reel or something about I think it was Nick Harbor, the freshman, who has elite speed at 3,500. If I was multi-entering, I'd have a few lineups with him just in case, because I think he has world-class speed and will probably run in the Olympics at some point. That's how quick this guy is.
All right.
Hey, don't hate that.
No.
You can always get behind that if you're 20 maxing or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 3,500.
Last piece on ownership in this one, Key, Vandagriff are the only guys getting anything for Kentucky, and Raheem Sanders is the only really guy getting anything, probably just because of the volume for South Carolina. Is Jared Brown one of your teal crew from down there? Is that him?
Jared Brown.
He's from Coastal, right?
Where's he at?
South Carolina.
He might be.
Actually. 3 targets, 0 for 0 last week. That's what Joe's going to do. What was his last name?
Royer.
Yeah. Well, I hope not, because I'll probably end up playing him.
Be right back, boys.
Wow. Yeah. Next game is a cross off.
Oh God.
Cross off
Yeah.
for me, except maybe Jalen Noel, but he's so
Or Luke Lachey. I could play Luke Lachey.
Nick Lachey's brother, 98 degrees.
Maybe in cash. I mean, I don't even think you can play him in tournaments. But maybe you can just because of the price. But he's getting about 20% ownership actually.
What do you think about Caleb Johnson's numbers at 4,200?
He didn't even get the most carries last week, though.
That's what's so baffling.
Moulton led the backfield with 19. Oh, God. We've already spent too much time on this one. 35 total, both projected for under 20. Lachey, maybe Noel. Lachey more of a cashy type play. Noel, GPP guy who had 8 targets a week ago if you really want to do it against this defense. But all right, next. Baylor, Utah, 15-point favorite is Utah. Both of these ran it quite a bit last week, but they also both won by 40. Rising is back for Utah, 10 for 15, 5 of those touchdowns last week. How about that efficiency? He's got Keithy, Singer, Zipperer. I'm assuming I think that's the brother of the guy from Florida, because that first name is not the same. And Parks, he's going to spread it around in terms of targets, but he zeroes in on Keithy in the red zone, who had 3 of those touchdowns last week on 4 catches. Micah Bernard is okay. His backup, Dijon Stanley, had 3 catches for 150 and 2 last week from Rising. Had the other 2. So how about that stat line? He's probably, you're not playing, I don't know that I'm going to play really anything here again. I mean, the Baylor receivers are cheap, but they also have Daquan Finn, who comes over from Toledo. And he's a runner, so you're not really playing him for the passing game. The running backs are going to split Pendergrass and Reese, who both had 17 and 18 carries last week. That volume was up just because the matchup. They're under 4K, but I don't think I'm getting to this game.
No.
I like the Utah side, if any.
Keithy maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Kind of Cam Rising and pair him up with whoever. For me, Baylor, I got to see more, and especially in Utah. That's about the only play I have on that one.
You imagine having it last week as like you just fell on the guy.
Had to late swap because the other guy got hurt, or something. Yeah, that'd have been crazy. Not a whole lot of ownership going to this game at all. Yeah. Rising's getting a little bit, but I don't see how you can play him. I mean, he's coming back off the injury, so it makes sense they were easy with him last week. That efficiency is, of course, not going to continue, but Notre Dame. 28-point favorite, another low total with Northern Illinois, who is a complete cross-off. You're not playing anybody there. Notre Dame, you got Riley Leonard, who can run a little bit, 8,600. I think he's in play. And then you've got Bo Collins, the transfer from Clemson, Greathouse, Chris Mitchell, Mitchell Evans. It's kind of a congested receiving core. I don't know if you can find somebody. Maybe you all have one to play with Riley Leonard. But Leonard, only threw for 158 against A&M last week, ran for 63, so that rushing upside is still there. The backfield is probably a little tough with pricing because Jeremiah Love 64 and then Jadarian Price is 71. Love led the backfield last week, so maybe you could take a shot there because of this matchup. But again, I don't love anything here.
Me neither.
Riley Leonard will be hurt by halftime, and you'll be overpaying for the rest. So, let's move on.
Sign me up for Leonard, then.
Maryland, Michigan State, another low total. So all the
I like this game actually.
high totals are no.
Or one side, Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. Billy
Look at
Edwards
the-
is a runner.
Look at the value.
We talked
Look at
down
the
to
value.
Billy. Oh man, he's only 65. Okay, there we go.
That's
So Billy is a runner who he ran for 39 last week, but of course he didn't have to run a whole lot when they're winning 50-7.
he's like Eli.
Last week we made fun of his passing accuracy last year because he had like a 30% completion rate when he stepped in. He was 20 of 27 last week, major improvement, threw for over 300. So I think he is definitely in play at 65. And then you got Hemby, who had 14 carries last week and 3 targets. He's 61. But then you've got Felton, who was the crushed last week. Nine targets, caught 7 for 178 and 2. Like him at only 54. Prather, 46, but he did have 7 targets. Probably not getting past Ty Felton and Billy Edwards for me on Michigan. Talk to me about your Michigan stack here.
Well, first of all, it's Maryland.
Maryland, Jesus.
Yeah,
Well,
Maryland.
Late Dame, we get it.
I'd probably just burn my money if I was playing the team up north, but no, Billy Edwards, Ty, and Caden are definitely in play. Not a priority. I got to make a decision on Maryland value play stack or Schittsburg value stack. So that's where we are. Week
Decision
2
for you.
Yeah. It's very tough. So that's kind of the only plays I have on this. But yes, I'm definitely interested on Maryland side. I don't think Michigan State's going to be winning more than 4 games this year. I think they're very
Yeah, I'm not playing anybody on that side.
They're very bad and down big. So I could see Edwards, Felton repeating of last week, honestly. I kind of like them more than the Pittsburgh value stack. So that's going to be my value stack of the week, as we kind of touched on last week. So that's where I'm at.
I was going to say, even if they just do half of what they did last week, they would make value. But you think they repeat?
Yep.
Wow. All
Yep.
right. I mean, I can get behind that. I don't see how a repeat's going to happen, but I can see it being close.
Yeah, so that's all I've got. That was the last game. So a lot of the early games were where we want to be. Just a quick glance at the top stacks, the DK stack tool that we have on the sheet. Pitt, Cincy, 1-2 to start out here. So we've got that feeding in, and then Maryland is 3. So there you go.
Maryland, man. I mean, I like them as a value play. Like I said, only 16.5 to double stack Felton and Prather. 49-1 at Michigan State. I don't know who they played, but it was Florida, one of the Florida teams, and they're not supposed to be that good, and they barely beat them. And I'd like them to be in the optimal with one of these other bigger stacks. And with that value stack, you can get to Ollie, if you think he's a priority. So I like that call of the week here this week.
I'm gonna make the Auburn stack's growing on me. I'm gonna make that mine.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
That was my computer froze up on. There we go. Hold on. It was Lambert. It was Lambert and
Cam
Thanks.
Coleman is the number 2 on the sheet here, but I mean, there's other options. in
yeah.
there
I'm trying
too.
to. Computer froze up on me, guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, so last week, Dane was the only actually smart one that played our stack that we kind of,
Yeah,
made
all-
up. And I think he did very well on that stack.
pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I pretty much played the show build as my main, and yeah, it crushed.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Why don't Yeah, we should throw that in every week. Split it 3 ways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what stack I like here.
We gave you time here, Dane. Since it's your
We
first
can go to.
I mean, even I went before you, man. Come on.
I mean, I'll
I
speak
can't
on a
pick
couple.
Pitt or Cincy this week because they're not really off the board.
Yeah, I'll speak on a couple while you look. Another couple that I had highlighted before we came on. Arkansas, that stack, Syracuse, pieces, not McCord, but one of the pieces there. Cincy, definitely Cincy, Mr. Joe and Xavier there, and then like Start said Auburn. So that was the ones I had highlighted there. The other ones that was interesting to me was Oklahoma State. Would be in play for me. So
They're projected.
Yeah. Man, I think I'm gonna have to go with. I'm gonna go with Arkansas, and the stack is gonna be Taylon Green to Luke Hayes at 3,300.
perfect.
You know who I wanted to say? I really wanted to say a double stack of Syracuse.
Okay.
But I don't know that I can get, I don't know that I can play McCord. But if you play Pena and Gadsden, don't you want McCord?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
So if you play
you
them together, I mean,
just cough up the extra 600 and do it. I mean, if you're playing them, yeah. I mean, how do you not do it?
But do you think Syracuse is going to have to pass that much against Georgia Tech? Do you think they'll be down and behind?
yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I think the hardest part is figuring out, is this Georgia Tech defense, are they actually decent?
Well, I mean, that's the other side and X factor, because
I mean, this is going to be a passing offense
Look who
this
they
year
played.
in normal game scripts, I think, for Syracuse. And that's not to say you can't play LaQuinn Allen either, because he's going to be involved in that. But, if you like the Jamal Haynes, maybe you just go back on the other side and play that Georgia Tech's playing from ahead with Jamal Haynes, and then you got McCord, Gadsden, Pena trying to keep it close. I don't know.
Yeah, or reverse Haynes King, and
Yeah,
if you can get the Tech receiver right, and then LaQuinn Allen.
Yep.
yeah, and you can still play Allen and one of those two receivers or tight end.
Yeah.
Yes.
There. So yeah, good game there for sure.
All right, boys.
All right. Good luck to everybody this week. We got this out a day early. We'll be back next week, probably on Friday night. We'll see how it works out schedule-wise. But again, we're going to try to continue to do these each and every week. Good start last week, and we'll try to do so again. Any last words?
Good luck, everybody. That's all I got.
Come
All right.
on,
See you next
take
week.
down